What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Our first post-game show since the All-Star break. It's been a good week off, but the Blazers got back to action tonight, and they did not continue what they showed before the All-Star break, as their 4-game winning streak gets snapped at the hands of the Golden State Warriors. The Blazers end up losing by 37 points, 132-95. We'll discuss what this means for the Blazers going forward. We'll discuss the potential tank. Is that back on? We discussed that earlier today, but we'll discuss that some more later tonight. We'll discuss, key players from this game, how certain guys looked. Keon Johnson makes his Blazer debut. Drew Eubanks makes his Blazer debut. Brandon Williams kind of makes his Blazers debut. He played a couple games earlier this year, but got more run in this one than he did on his initial 10-day contract with the Blazers. And we'll have a normal post-game show for you guys here tonight. Eric, what's going on, man? How do you feel about this game? You know, it's a different vibe compared to coming off of surprise wins 4 games in a row. This is kind of what I was expecting.
I kind of like the up and down play style. It was fun to watch a Blazers team run for once. But then, they were just outmatched the rest of the game. And unfortunately, didn't have or fortunately, if you want to go that route, didn't have the talent to match up with this Golden State team.
Yep. Unfortunately, they did not. We'll discuss individual players and kind of how they shot tonight. The Blazers had shot the ball really well in their first 4 games or so. That did not continue today. They end up shooting a whopping 26% from 3 and under 40% from the field. We'll take a look at this team stats in a second, but it's not a pretty picture. I guess I should have expected this. The Warriors were 10-point favorites, and I took the Blazers in picks against the spread earlier today. I feel like a moron for doing that. This game started off good. This game started off looking like the previous 4. The Blazers, I believe, built a 8-point lead there in the first quarter?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then this game was over when they subbed out Anthony Simons and Josh Hart. Anthony Simons and Josh Hart got this team out to a quick start, and then after they got subbed out in the first quarter, it was downhill from there. Their largest lead was 10, and I think that was right around the time where Simons and Hart got subbed out. The bench got destroyed in this one. You look at Watford as a minus 39 in 23 minutes. Macklemore a minus 28 in 17 minutes. Brandon Williams in 20 minutes minus 26. Keon Johnson in 17 minutes minus 23. The starters were actually kind of hung in there against Golden State starters for the most part. Drew Eubanks was actually a plus 7. He led the team. Hart and Simons were only a minus 11. When you lose by 37, that's a little bit better. So we were able to kind of be competitive with the starters in the game. When it came to putting in the bench, they just got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, we had a lineup with it was Brandon Williams, Keon Johnson, Watford, Greg Brown, and I forget who the other person was, but they just couldn't generate any offense at all, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it got really stagnant in this one. You saw the ball movement a little bit there in the first quarter, but Golden State's is the best defense in the league, and we really struggled moving the ball against them. We really struggled building some sort of offensive rhythm, which is what we had done the previous 4 wins. This was just a different style of game. We got runouts early. We got some fast break points early. This team was playing at a really fast pace, and Golden State was as well. And normally you don't want to get into a run and gun battle with the Golden State Warriors, but if you're putting out the lineup that the Blazers did tonight, that was the only way they were going to be able to stay in this game, is to get some good looks in transition. And after about the first 9 minutes...
according to Chuck at halftime.
I did not listen to anything he said for good reason. I don't even want to talk about that. But, after that, when it was forced into a half-court game, the Blazers really struggled to manufacture any clean looks. Golden State was just running a double team at Anthony Simons every time he put the ball on the floor. and we did not take advantage of it. We didn't move the ball well. Part of that is they play good defense behind their double teams. That's why they're one of the best teams in the league. They're a really well-coached team. But it was like, and would put the ball on the floor, immediately get doubled, and he just didn't have enough shooting out there. He was playing with Eubanks, not a shooter. Justice Winslow was 2 for 3 from 3 today, but I think you kind of live with him shooting threes. And then CJ Ellaby has been rough all year, and Josh Hart isn't, for his career, is a slightly below average three-point shooter, and he shot the three ball great since coming to Portland, but tonight he was 0 for 5. So they could just kind of get away with sending 2 defenders at Simons, and we didn't have the floor spacing or shooting ability to spread them out enough to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely a shooting problem right now on our team, especially when we have a bunch of guards that aren't really known to shoot, and then also we put in, when you factor in that McLemore is just absolutely struggling from 3 and
rough. Yeah.
is looking pretty rough out there after he was looking pretty good most of the season. But yeah, so I agree with you. I did so I have a couple plays for breakdown tonight. I did like our setup on some of the times when Ant was getting double teamed out of the pick and roll. So I want to illustrate that in a little bit, but yeah, overall we just didn't have the players that can make shots or do things. And then when certain players did get the ball, it was really sloppy, and we turned the ball over a lot or took bad shots. So not a recipe for success against a smart team like the Warriors.
No, not at all. Let's take a look at the team stats. 18 turnovers for the Blazers jumps out. They get 20 points off of them. You cannot turn over the ball against this Golden State Warriors team. We had some sloppy ones that didn't really result in runouts, but it seemed like every time we had like a live ball turnover, they were able to get good looks off of it. And that's the thing. You want to get in a fast break. You want this Blazers roster. The only way they were going to succeed is playing a fast tempo, but also taking care of the ball. It was when they tried to play with a fast tempo and Golden State defended it well, and then they became sloppy. That's where this game kind of fell apart, and that was mostly with the bench unit running Brandon Williams, inexperienced point guard, at the point instead of Simons. Overall, the turnovers jump out to me, and then also it felt like they had more offensive rebounds than that. Only 10 for them. It felt like they had 20. It's like when we did get a stop, they got offensive boards. I mean, they shot 51% from the field, 37% from 3, and our percentages were much, much worse. What else jumps out at you?
Yeah, pretty much just those. We got killed on the boards, both offensively, like we said, and defensively. And then the shooting was just abysmal tonight. Did get to the line 29 times, which is a lot for us, so I like to see that. But they got to the line 32, so didn't really matter. And then the 16 assists. Unfortunately, when you're playing a good defensive team, you need to move the ball better. But like you also said, we don't really have much shooting, so it's hard to get assists, and you have to kind of force shots sometimes. But felt like, especially in the second half or after the first quarter, I guess the last 3 quarters, we had a lot of, it's your turn, go one-on-one type offense, and that just won't get it done.
Even Blevins took that seriously. Even Blevins. I need to mute that. I was just had a meme board text in the top left. I was messing around with Gabe with a meme board on this stream, and it just popped up text up there. So yeah. Anyway, if anybody was wondering what in the world that was, yeah, rough game. We'll get into the players in a sec. I don't really want to beat around the bush talking too much about this one. I am ready for your breakdown if you just want to hop into that.
Sure.
All right, cool. So let me... Well, I said I was ready. I don't have the first play in. Give me 5 seconds. Bang. Cool. All right. What do we have for play number 1?
So play number 1 is just the setup I talked about out of a double team. So they were running basically 2 at Ant off of every screen, and they were pushing him out to where he didn't really have much. He didn't have any path to drive, and they were kind of pushing him away from the basket instead of towards the basket, which was smart. And we've seen Ant get very turnover prone in some of these situations earlier in the season, so I wanted to see how he'd react to this. They absolutely treated him like he was the only good player on the court tonight, which is probably smart by the Warriors. And then they're also playing a box and one at one point, which is basically where someone just stays on Ant the whole time and the other four players play zone. So I actually really like this setup that they use out of the double team here, as long as Ant can get this pass off in the second slide. So Winslow's going to set a screen and then roll. The double team's going to stay. And Winslow, you see how much space he has right there.
Yeah.
And now, if this is Nurk, Nurk's not quite as good at putting the ball on the floor if he gets the ball here. So probably not the ideal setup for him. But Nurk could play that Eubanks role if we have a good roll catch guy who can dribble like Winslow can. So Ant's going to get the ball to Winslow, and he's got a shooter on the top, and he's got a shooter in the bottom corner, and a guy in the dunker spot down low. And I just really like this setup. This is a really good way to attack a double team if you get the ball out of there, because you have a 4-on-3 advantage, and someone should come away with an open shot here, and Winslow ends up just taking this one and scoring. But yeah, it's just a really good setup. I like having a big under the hoop. I like having the floor spaced with shooters, and if you have better players on the court too, this will look a lot better.
Yeah, because that's the problem, is Clay can just leave CJ Ellaby, because CJ Ellaby can't freaking shoot the ball. We'll talk about him when we get into his player card. He just can't shoot the freaking ball, so Clay can kind of leave him and help, onto the big or help onto the driver and make this tougher. So that's the thing. If you had a sniper here, Clay would really be stuck. Like, do I leave a really good shooter wide open in the corner for a kick out pass that's directly out to him? That's pretty risky, right? So, but it's CJ Ellaby, so that's tough. I will point out one other thing that needs to happen on this play. CJ Ellaby should be coming up the sideline to be a second outlet in case Simons can't get the ball to Winslow. If Ellaby comes up, it's left hand wraparound pass around Curry straight to Ellaby. If he comes up to around where the referee is, and then he can quickly just get the ball to Winslow as he cuts. Yep. Right, and then it's the same situation. So,
and the important thing there is whoever gets the ball attack, or get the ball to someone who can attack very quickly, like you said. So that's the key. And before, so what we'd have like CJ or whoever be like near the Moda Center logo, and Ant would have to throw it across the court. And by the time he caught that, Wiggins would be up on him, and the other guys could rotate, and the other guy, like Curry, could rotate down to CJ Ellaby in the corner, and we never have an advantage. So I like the fact that it's almost like Ant drew them back, and like I said, as long as he can get that pass off, it's great. Now, if he has trouble getting the pass off, it's going to cause a lot of problems, but as long as he can, I really like how they set this up to attack.
Yep. Yeah, in the past, like, Hart, instead of where he is, would be up where the ref is by Chauncey. Right. And then Wiggins, who's guarding Hart here, would be just on Winslow, and Winslow wouldn't be an option. And the only option would be a skip pass towards, like, where that ref is by Chauncey, and then they just recover and are fine. So I couldn't stand our setup against the trap under Terry Stotts. So, I like this better. Ellaby has to come up the sideline, but, and then if it's somebody other than Ellaby in the future, if it's a good shooter, imagine if that's Dame, pick your poison, then we're going to be able to get good shots out of that.
Yeah, and speaking of, if this is Dame, how do you stop it? Let's go to play 2.
All right, cool. Play number 2 is loaded. Go ahead.
So people say Dame can't play off ball, right?
Yeah.
Or how are you going to make this work with Ant, who's now showing that he needs the ball in his hands, right? So Ant brings the ball up. He's going to pass to Josh Hart here. And then in the second slide, Josh Hart's going to dribble down to the bottom. And look at this. Eubanks here is going to go set an off-ball screen for Ant. It's just simple action. You got shooters in the corners. Theoretically, in this play, it's Winslow and CJ Ellaby. So once again, if you substitute better players here, so you got shooters in the corner, and then you set a off-ball screen for Ant, or whether this is Dame with Ant with the ball, or Ant with Dame with the ball, or how you could run it with Hart and have Dame or Ant be the shooters in the corners. There's so many things you can do off this. So just one simple off-ball screen. Ant comes off it, gets the pass, and is wide open for a 3-point shot, which he hits.
Yeah.
And we can run stuff like this all day. And in the last slide, you can see. So if this is like, obviously Eubanks doesn't know. He wasn't very good at running the plays tonight. He's kind of lost out there on offense, just kind of running around. But if Ant doesn't have this shot, he could dump it off to Eubanks there, who could either drive in if he has a lane, or kick it out to that corner shooter for a wide open 3. And once again, as long as you attack it, the advantage, you should be able to create an open shot. So I just like it was very simple, but we don't run much off-ball action for our best shooters. And this was an example of doing it where we got an open shot for, at the time, one of the hottest players in the game.
Yep. Was this when they were running their box and one? This setup seems kind of weird for them defensively.
Yeah, I don't know. But Hart came off like a screen from Eubanks, and then Eubanks went to the side. But
yeah,
like I said, it's just really simple action, and it doesn't really matter if they're running a box and one, because for Ant's purposes, it's man, whether it's a box and one or man. So
yeah. This can work against either. I was just wondering. Mm-hmm. They were very small, but yeah, just simple action like this and play off of it. You know, it's like that's the thing, is you don't necessarily have to call elaborate sets every time down. Just call some sort of wrinkle to start things off to try and create an advantage, and then try and play off that. Mm-hmm. Right? And if you don't get an advantage, you know, your ball movement doesn't result in anything, then have Dame or Ant ISO and try and get a bucket or run a pick and roll. That's what the offense needs to be. Too many times in the past, we just dribble the ball down and kind of go one-on-one, or just run pick and roll, or just throw it directly into the post with the big man being shoved away from the hoop because we didn't set him a screen first or anything like that. So little wrinkles like this to start off possessions is always good, and then just play off of that. You know, if this is where we miss Nurkic, right? Because if Nurkic is this roll man, and Simons dishes him the ball, he can finish this at a much better clip than Eubanks can. You know, let's just be honest. But you can also make that pass to the corner and make the right reads. That's why I like Nurkic next to Ant, next to Dame, just because he's lethal as a screen setter. So, you know, Ant with Nurkic maybe even is more open on this shot. And then Nurkic can finish off the roll and pass. So all three assets of being a screen-setting big man, Nurkic fills. Sets a good screen, good roll man finisher, good roll man passer. So that's why I think we're going to miss Nurkic.
And like we've always talked about, say this doesn't work, there's still over 10 seconds left on the shot clock. So you could then run your pick and roll or ISO or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. So you can get into like your normal stuff that you're more comfortable with. But why not try something like this and get an open shot off ball, catch and shoot, where you don't have to put in much effort first, and then resort to pick and roll and ISO later.
Yep, exactly. I agree. Anyway, that's Brent's breakdown. We'll hop into the player cards in a second. If you guys got a couple things to say in chat, we'll maybe read them off, answer a couple questions. We'll get these player cards loaded up here. I think Krish is just finished with them, so we are good to go. Alrighty. I just gotta load them up. We'll talk about every player. We'll talk 12 players played in this game. We got 12 player cards. Alright, so we're gonna talk about everybody from this thing. We're gonna talk about Keon Johnson. Didn't want to spoil any thoughts on him. Didn't want to spoil a possible rant on CJ Ellaby. Rant on Ben McLemore. I mean, we had some guys that struggled today. We're going to talk about it in a second.
Well, while you're loading that, I just want to say something. Chauncey's doing a fantastic job of at least trying to run stuff like I showed, and at least trying to do the right things. The problem is he doesn't have the talent to do it, but you can see how when he does get the talent back into the lineup, how it's going to work out. And I really think he's come a long way and is showing signs of becoming a really good coach after I mean, I think it's fair to say he struggled pretty bad at the beginning of the season, but I'm pretty confident in his ability now, and I think he's doing a really good job over the last few months.
Yeah, I mean, when you have players that aren't going to buy into doing the right things, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. You know what I mean? Since Chauncey wasn't proven, that's all we had to go off of. So people, question, whether he was the right hire or not, and I understand why. But now that he has guys that are buying in, it's not a talented team. So this is still a bad team, and he's not just going to make these guys Western Conference Finals contender or anything, but he can get them to be competitive. There's still going to be some games where they
didn't go down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's there's still going to be games like this where they're out talented and they don't execute super well, but that's not an indictment on the coach. The 4 games before this was extremely impressive. They played a really good brand of basketball, and that had them competitive, and that helped them win 4 games in a row, a couple of which were against some very solid teams. So, I like what Chauncey's been doing. It'll be interesting next season to see what the roster is, because the roster is going to be more talented just by heading Damian Lillard alone, but then hopefully we can make some other upgrades. It'll be interesting to see, if we have Dame and Ant and maybe have an upgrade somewhere else, if he can get some more talented players, especially, with Dame out there playing the same way as he's gotten these young, hungry guys who are established in the league yet. So, anyway, let's jump into the player cards. Oh, I gotta put your camera back on there. Your camera was not on there. I don't know what we did last. When was the last time we had a post-game stream? 8 days ago? The 16th? Yeah. I don't remember why. It was just my webcam on that, but let me fix that. Cool, that's there. And then
I think I did it from work.
Oh, yeah. But I don't know why wasn't... Did you have to leave early?
I wasn't on initially, and then I came on, and then had to go again.
That's why.
Or then my internet died, I think. And
that's why. I think it was your internet. Okay, yeah. The memories are coming back to me, dude. I could not remember at all. Anyway, we are set. Anthony Simons got to the free throw line. 6 free throws for him. This stat line is impressive. 24 points in 29 minutes with the way he was being defended by Golden State, Eric, is... I mean, like, a 40-point game looks better statistically, but given the situation he was put in this game, this is a really impressive game from him. He knocked down 4 of his 7 threes, a couple of which were just quick trigger contested threes, and it was funny because I was watching him and it was like he was hitting a couple threes moving off the ball. I think he got a handoff off one and then came off that screen that you showed, and it just kind of reminded me a little bit of Steph. Just catching, just getting the ball out with that quick trigger. So it was cool for him to have a game like that. 3 for 7 inside the arc, but got to the line 3 times and made all 6 of his free throws. So overall, a very efficient night for him.
Yeah, and I feel like his release is getting quicker too, which is very helpful. He's getting a shot off so quickly, and 14 shots, 24 points. You'll take that. I think a couple of his free throws were defensive 3-second calls, but you'll take it. And that's one thing we have been mentioning. As soon as he figures out how to get to the line a little more, he's going to become even more efficient. And the only thing, especially at the beginning of this game, he was a little sloppy with the 4 turnovers. But other than that, he had a pretty efficient game, all things considered.
Yeah, tough position. I mean, you're going to have a couple turnovers when you're being trapped all game. So, can't really blame him too much for that. A very impressive game offensively for him, especially in only 29 minutes. Shout out to Pim Araz. I don't know how to say your last name, but $5 dono from Pim. Thank you. The Golden State defense was just too much for us tonight. I think they would be the favorites in a Golden State vs. Suns series with Klay Thompson. And don't sleep on the Suns. Don't sleep. The Suns are still honestly in play for 70 wins this season. So I think Chris Paul, will be back first round of the playoffs, maybe a couple games before then, and he's going to be rested. Maybe he'll be a little bit rusty, but in the first round, I think they'll take care of business. I think the Suns are the favorite in the West. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they need CP3 to do that, but as long as he comes back healthy, then that's going to be a really good series if both teams are healthy. That's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully it plays out that way and there's not an injury that costs us the privilege of watching that great series, because I think that'll be really fun.
Yep, agreed. Let's move on to. We'll get to him later. We'll get to him later, and I don't know why it puts them out of order. They'll put the first one before like the last two or three sometimes. This was our second best player tonight, according to Chris, according to the order of the player cards. 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 for 11 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3 for Justice Winslow. Knocked down 2 of his 3 threes. That's better than you should expect from Justice Winslow. Was 3 for, 3 for 8 inside the arc, and then 2 for 4 from the free throw line. Okay game from him, I guess. 4 fouls in 22 minutes. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. He had a couple of nice hustle plays. His defense was okay. Yeah, just it's tough for a player like Winslow, who's kind of a rollish type player. When we start getting blown out, it's like it's hard for him. But yeah, I mean, at least he was hitting his threes, and he's been pretty consistent with it since he's gotten here. So hopefully that can continue. But yeah, just solid again. He's been a nice player for us.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he had an okay game. His lack of shooting in the starting lineup. It's weird to say in a game like this, and I've made this point many times, so I'm not going to rant about it. It's tough with him out there with other non-shooters out there. CJ Ellaby at this point is a non-shooter. We'll get to him. Eubanks is a non-shooter. It just makes things tougher on Simons. Makes it a little bit easier for teams to trap, and he can be that guy, out of the trap to be the playmaker or somebody to take it to the rim and finish. It's just tough when. You got CJ Ellaby and CJ Ellaby out there spacing the wing. His guy can just crash on him. We explained that in the first place. So next season, it'll be interesting to see what his role will be on this team. I assume he's going to be on the team next season. It's going to be interesting to see what center they go out and try and pair next to him if he's the backup power forward. It's going to be interesting to see where they try and fit him in next year, because he's played solidly for us so far this season. It's just you got to make the fit work.
Yep.
So
there's some stuff they could do, like I showed in the first play, using him as the guy you get the ball to when either Dame or Ant are double teamed. If he's making good decisions out of that and attacking the defense, then there is some use for him. So hopefully he can continue to do that and continue to at least minimize the concerns that you brought up with the shooting.
Yeah. I mean, Golden State should have defended that play a little bit better. Somebody step up and stop the Winslow drive, and the other guy take the big, leave the corner shooter, and Ellaby open.
But we're trying to talk about how it would translate to having him in a better lineup.
Yeah, well, this goes into my question. So if that was Nasir Little instead of CJ Ellaby, do you think a Nasir Little open 3-point shot is a good shot to get out of the trap? Or would you want to try to get a better shot?
Well, honestly, Nas was shooting like 40% from 3 as a starter this year, so
I mean, that's
it's a small sample size, but hopefully he becomes consistent in the corner 3.
Yeah, he's just probably not going to start next year, right? I don't know. Maybe he does.
I mean, I'm just saying, like the last, what was it, 20 games he played or whatever. He was a 40% 3-point shooter, so it's not like he was terrible or anything. So
I mean, I just feel like you're cherry picking that sample a little bit. What was he on the season? 33%.
I don't know what he finished on the season, but it was. I'm just talking about like his last 20 games or whatever. So yeah, it's. I mean, you asked if I feel comfortable with it. If he continues to shoot like he was, yes, I would feel comfortable with it. Maybe you have him on the opposite side that you had the big on. And that's an adjustment, so he could still cut even if they defend the big. So he could easily just dive in that situation down the baseline. So I think there's stuff you can do out of it. I'm not that concerned about it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Because I feel like that's probably going to be the backup 3 and 4 next year is Nas and Winslow. So hopefully Nas could shoot 40%. I love for Nas to shoot 40%. Dude would be honestly, if he's shooting 40% from 3, he's probably a starter then though.
I'm not sure. Like I don't know, 40% is possible, but like, at least from the corners, if you can shoot 40%, then that becomes a lot better.
Yeah, I'm curious if he shot better or worse on the corners. He shot 33% from 3 in 42 games this year. From the corners, he shot... Where's it at? Advanced shooting? No, corner threes? I can't remember where to find it. Shooting. Corner threes. He shot 37% on corner threes. So better than... he shot 33% from 3 and 37% from corner threes, so a little bit better. That was 28% of his attempts. So, yeah, I guess I'm cool with the corner 3 from Nas in that situation. Anyway, that's an interesting debate. For the offseason, let's move on and talk about Josh Hart. All right, 5 for 6 inside the arc. Got to the line 2 times, made both of his free throws, but he was 0 for 5 from 3. Had a couple of difficult looks, to be fair. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers in 27 minutes. He had a solid game, I guess. Got a little bit sloppy at times, driving into traffic, and didn't knock down threes. He didn't continue his hot shooting that he had shown in a Blazer uniform to start his Blazer career.
Yeah, I thought most of the threes he took were bad, like step-back ones or ones with a guy in his face. So what didn't really get any open ones either. But yeah, I liked his aggression in the first quarter once again, and then he just went ice cold. That couldn't hit a shot. But I think he started off 4 for 4, was getting out and running and driving to the basket, and had Golden State a little flustered at the beginning of this game, and then he just, like, the next time he drives, he just loses it right to the guy guarding him.
Yeah, that was a bad turnover.
So got to cut down on those, especially if he's going to be like a secondary ball handler. But I do like when we play fast and he gets up and down the court. I feel like he's doing a really nice job of finishing in those situations. And then we went kind of half-court ISO ball, like I said, and I just don't think he's as good of a weapon in those kind of situations.
Yeah, and I will say, like, his three-point attempts, I don't know if I want to say that they're bad, because it just seemed like, the offense is super stagnant. Shot clock was kind of winding down. They were tough looks. It was just a situation with the guys he was out there on the court. It's like, well, this is pretty much the best option at this point. That's kind of what his threes felt like to me.
Yeah. Well, like 0 for 5, you say, he sucked shooting threes tonight. But, like, I don't feel like he got a clean look, like, and was like, oh, man, he should have made that one, right? Yeah. It was mostly like, if that goes in, that's a lucky shot almost, you know? He
had been hitting those, though. And he hit like one of those types of desperation shots to start this game. The second shot he hit this game was like a one-legged sidestep to the left mid-range jumper near the shot clock buzzer. You know which play I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like he's kind of hit some wild shots so far in a Blazer uniform. So I told people don't expect his hot shooting to keep up. He was shooting like above 50% in a Blazer uniform from 3 before this game. And for his career, he's like 34%. Apparently, he's super streaky. So if you remember Rocco last year for the month of like March, shot 50% from 3, but then another month the dude can't buy a 3. I would kind of have the same expectations from Josh Hart at this point, and hopefully he can shoot better. It's just when a player comes in his first few games as a Blazer shoots the lights out of the ball, I feel like it almost sets some Blazer fans up for disappointment, because then when that stops, it's like, maybe he isn't as good of a shooter as I thought. He's I think near a league average 3-point shooter. Dude's been shooting the lights out of the ball though, and got some tough looks tonight, 0 for 5.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really expect anyone to shoot 50% from 3.
Oh, for sure. But it's like when they go from, in 4 games, they'll shoot like 50%, and then the next 4 games, they could go 25%. Rocco has stretches like that, and it's like, when that first 4 games is your 4 games as a Blazer, I almost wonder, if... Go ahead.
I was just saying, this is going to be interesting to watch him then, because if that's true, I think he's a smart enough player to maybe not take bad threes then, and then like let the game come back to him and only shoot threes if he's open. The problem is, like we talked about several times tonight, we don't really have a lot of talent on the roster, so he's going to have to force some shots the rest of the year. But it'll be interesting to see if maybe in some of those situations he tries to put the ball on the floor and drive more often instead of shooting 5 threes next game if he's not hitting. So maybe he can do some stuff to minimize that streakiness.
Yeah, and he's better than all these players, but I'm used to players coming into Portland and playing well right at the start and then trailing off in terms of production. It happened with Caleb Swanigan, his first preseason game. I don't know if you remember this, Eric. He had 18 points. 18 points and looked good. And fans were like, see? Because I hated that pick. And people on Twitter were like, see, you're wrong. Look how good he looks. Look how good he looks. And then he, of course, fell off. Stauskas, his first regular season game as a Blazer, has 24 against the Lakers. And everybody's all hyped for him, and then he trails off. Mario Hezonja had a solid preseason when he played his 1 year here, and we all know how that went. So Josh Hart's much more talented than those guys. I'm not worried about him like I was worried about those guys at all. It's just funny how there always seems to be a trend where Blazer players in their debut or their first couple of games for the Blazers seem to play really, really well for whatever reason.
Yeah, I had another example of that, but I lost it. Well, Harry Giles had a huge.
Oh yeah, Harry Giles. Yeah, first
but
couple.
there was someone else I was thinking of, but yeah, I forget right now.
Yeah, if it comes back to you, let me know because it just seems to be a trend. Anyway, no, I mean 4 assists. Like some of the passes he threw in this game.
It was Derek Jones Jr. Remember, not necessarily a good first game, but. Remember how we had that reaction to signing him? Yeah. And then he had a few good games earlier in the season, and everyone's like, when are you going to admit you were wrong? And then
it was like after we beat the Lakers and had a really good defensive game against LeBron and AD. Yeah. Yeah. And then at the end of the season, we're defending him when Stotts says we're 29th on defense with him and 29th on defense without him. Yeah. Acting as if he does not help their defense at all. So... yeah, just a common theme. So I always, I just don't want Blazer fans to get too high and set their expectations too high because I've seen it happen with players beforehand and then those fans just end up disappointed. I try and keep the expectations realistic. That's why I point this stuff out. Anyway, every other part of his game I love. And I hope that he can shoot 36-37% next year. He'll probably get better shots next to better players than he got tonight because he did not get good 3-point looks. Anyway, let's move on to... Oh, I didn't mean to skip that. Brandon Bang Williams. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 4 for 9 from 3, 1 for 3 from 3, 3 for 3 from the free throw line. So a solidly efficient night for a two-way guy, right? And TNT is out here... sneak dissing him, Eric, as the kids would say, with a graphic showing his career 3-point makes up against Stephen Curry's. I don't know if you saw that.
Eric Olson doesn't even know who this is. Yeah, so they showed that graphic. They did him dirty, but yeah, I mean, happy that he got his first 3-pointer in the NBA, and yeah, I mean, you saw it tonight. He can score a little bit. Doesn't really do much else. Hopefully at some point. Once again, it's hard to tell because, he's playing with not the greatest talent, but I don't know if you could even trust him to really do much in a game that mattered. So it's going to be tough to like expect anything from him other than maybe he can get hot on occasion and make some shots.
Yeah, I mean, he knocked down a tough contested 3. Mm-hmm. He has decent speed for a point guard. I'm not... There was a take today that said that Brandon Williams is really fast and you can't stop him from getting to any of his spots on the floor. I'm not going to go that far because that's kind of wild, but decent speed for a point guard. I don't... He just seems like one of those guys, though. You always get these guys in Summer League where they can just score the ball. Mm-hmm. And I don't know...
Antonio Blakeney?
Yeah, Antonio Blakeney's one of those guys. Like, I don't know how he is as a playmaker. He's been a solid playmaker for others in the G League. Mm-hmm. No assists in 20 minutes today, though. I don't know. He just seems like one of those point guards that isn't necessarily a great passer and can get hot and score a little bit, but not enough to make them worth maybe even a roster spot in the league. That's just the vibe I get off of him. One of those guys that might tear it up in summer league and then be nothing in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
No shade, though.
Oh, I'm willing to give him a chance to see. Hopefully, Chauncey can, tone that down a little bit. And there's a reason they would bring him back, right? I don't think if they felt like he would be like that way and there was no way to coach him, that they would have brought him back. So I have confidence that they chose him for a reason after seeing him for 10 days. So
do you really have confidence? Like, they chose Eric Bledsoe and...
Well, I mean, we don't know if they actually chose Eric Bledsoe yet, because we don't even know if that Achilles injury is real right now, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, he's definitely worth a two-way, I think, at this point, until he proves that he doesn't belong in the league, because he has speed, he can knock down a shot, has been putting up good numbers in the G League, so he definitely deserves a consistent chance. And it'll be interesting to see what he does with that consistent chance. Had a solid game today, I guess, to start things off, but in a point guard, I'm looking for somebody to really kind of calm things down and run things, and I know he's kind of new to the team, only spent, I think, 2 10-day contracts with the team before this. If I recall correctly, maybe it was just one. Was it just one? Yeah. So
then he got COVID.
Oh yeah, you're right. So he only spent 10 days with this team before this, but as a point guard, I want to see him kind of settle things down and run the second unit. And the second unit today just looked awful. Might not be his fault at all.
I don't know how much you can blame him for.
Yeah. But going forward, I'm looking for him to do that. All right, because if you can score the ball and you have some speed, like, okay, that's nice to have, but there's a bunch of guys in the G League that can score the ball, a bunch of guys in the G League that can score the ball and have some speed. The guys that are able to be NBA caliber backups are guys that are able to kind of calm things down and run things and get the offense flowing and take care of the ball. Because you don't want, your 8th or 9th guy, if it's a backup point guard, to come in and try and do too much and ruin the flow of the offense and not be able to settle down the team. So for him, going forward, if he aspires to be, a backup point guard in the NBA, that's something that he's going to have to be able to do. So I think that's really the main thing that I'm looking at of him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about the lack of shooting on the floor. It's not like he had shooters to kick it out to when he's playing with Keon Johnson, and McLemore's missing all his shots. So maybe that's a little bit to do with it too.
Yeah, definitely true. Let's move on to. Thank you for getting that emoji out of here, Chris. Appreciate it. Instead, he substituted money bag emojis, which I like better because I'll sit next to money any day. Trendon got paid money bags. He got his contract we talked about on an episode of Blazers Uprise Live. Go back and watch that if you want. That's our second channel, link in description. 9 points, 2 assists, 2 for 5 from the field, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, though. 4 personal fouls, 1 turnover, 1 steal. It seemed like he kind of struggled today, but statistically he looks fine, except for that awful minus 39 that you can barely see because this graphic is getting something added to it every single stream. So, good on Chris for making that minus 39 almost illegible, because other than that, statistically, I think he was okay.
Is that Chauncey?
Where's Chauncey at?
Like behind the stats? Who is that?
I think that's Draymond.
Oh, it's Draymond. Oh, because
you think that looks like? Nah, yeah, that looks like Draymond. I was gonna say I don't think that looks like
very
Chauncey.
well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I felt like he tried to be aggressive and he missed. Like, I think he missed his first shot, and then he had he couldn't get to the rim a couple times, and then he kind of got unaggressive, and then towards the end again in garbage time he got aggressive again. But I like when he's aggressive, and I feel like he could put the ball on the floor, especially if he's the center. And obviously Golden State's second unit, they don't really have a second unit center, so you're not going to beat many wings and guards off the dribble if you're Watford. But if he's playing against Looney or something, I expect him to put the ball on the floor and maybe get by some of those guys. And I wish we'd post him up a little bit, because I feel like that's something we haven't done, especially like I said against the smaller second unit. Um, I think he has some post moves and can score on players. And you see him with when he drives, he stops on a dime, fakes going up, and then spins back and usually gets open for a nice lay-in. Um, I just feel like he could do that a lot in the post. And when we're struggling to get good shots, I wish they would try that, or at least run the offense through him and maybe have some off-ball action for him to pass out.
Yep. Apparently that's not Draymond. I don't know who that is. It looks like Draymond to me, but I have no idea. I don't even know if I could tell without the stats in the way. But Chris says the fact that you guys still don't have the right guess as to who it is so funny. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, Chris, are you running out of ideas for this graphic? Like, what else is this going to be? You're going to put, like, money bags on Eric's side of the graphic? Like, I'm kind of curious to see where this thing goes. It had to have been, like, what, 30 games ago, maybe? We challenged Chris with adding something to this graphic every single game, and I was interested to see what it looks like at the end of the season. It already looks wild. And you still got 22 games left, Chris, so good luck adding to this one. Anyway, let's move on to Greg is tatted Brown the Third. Did he get tatted? Oh, he got his first tattoo, didn't he? I saw something on Twitter about that.
I didn't see that, no.
Oh, well, good for him. It helped him shoot because he shot well today. Was 3 for 6 from the field and 1 for 3 from 3. 33% is better than he was doing. And he also hit a mid-range, like one of those mid-ranges where you like catch and turn and shoot it immediately. I was impressed with that. Had a couple of drives where it seemed like he might be able to dunk on somebody, but got the ball stripped or lost the ball. It seems like he just can't put together a drive if there's any traffic around him. But overall, 2 blocks, a steal, 8 points. Not a bad game for him.
Yeah, all right. In the second half, he fell asleep and got beat backdoor 3 out of like 5 possessions for a wide open dunker in by the Warriors. So gotta watch that, but obviously it didn't really matter this year. I think he just needs minutes, and some of those things where he's taking the ball in against 2 or 3 defenders, like he's got to learn not to do that, and the only way to do that is to do it and have it fail and have Chauncey tell him that that's not the right play there or whatever. And so I do like that he's aggressive when he comes in and he tries hard. He just needs minutes to learn the game a little better.
Yeah, agreed. Nice to see him knock down some jumpers, though. Let's move on to Drew Eubanks. All right, this is your guy, Eric. 2 points.
My guy, because he went to Oregon State.
Yeah, he's your guy. You're not going to claim him? Even though he went to Oregon State and he's one of, 2 Oregon State guys in the league? You're not claiming he's a Portland native?
Speaking of Oregon State, they're down 3 in double overtime.
They're in double OT?
to USC.
Have you been watching that game at all?
No, I've just been following the game cast. But,
wow, that game's still going. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, like I said, he was pretty lost out there. Looked like he hadn't played basketball in a few months.
Yeah.
I know that feeling very well because over the past couple of years with how hard it is to get into gyms, sometimes like you have that period where you don't play for several weeks and then you play again and then you don't play for a few weeks and you play and stuff, and the ball just never feels right. I feel like he never got clean catches other than his putback dunk, and he was like fumbling the ball a lot, like he couldn't dribble much. And so I felt like it was just a game where he was just trying to get back into playing again, and it might take some time, but I kind of wish they would just start Watford then and let him come off the bench in that situation. Yeah,
they should have started Watford, man. I'm really disappointed that they started him. I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't know. He just seems like a run-of-the-mill third-string big man. I'd rather just take a swing on somebody with a little bit more upside in that spot. And, yeah, that's kind of where I sit with that. He's a local guy, so maybe that was part of the logic. But go ahead.
I think, because he's been known as a good screen setter. He got that one turnover with the illegal screen tonight where he kind of lowered the shoulder. I think it was into Kaminga. But I think that's what their thinking was, is just like without Nurk, you got Ant needing someone who can set good screens for him to come off and get open, and I think that's the only reason why they signed him was to do that.
That's not enough. That's a
Yeah,
terrible
I know.
reason.
I mean,
but
he's only
it
on
does
a
make
10-day,
a
so
little bit more sense.
8 days from now, he might not be on the team. So
Yeah. I said I'm not going to really read into too much about him. Some people were excited about him, and it's like he's probably not going to be on the team after 10 or 20 days. So, maybe he is. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know. He's just never, from what I've known about him, he's just never been a guy who's really impressed me. So
I have a question for Chris Brandlin.
okay.
Why can't we start trending at the 5 against Jokic?
What?
It's not. He says we can't start trending at the 5 against Joker though.
Why? That's so random. What?
But like,
How did
does it matter?
Jokic? How did Jokic become
I
a
think
part
he's
of
just
the
saying
conversation?
like we want Wofford to start, but like against some centers he's not going to be able to. But like, who cares?
Yeah, Jokic
Like,
will kill anybody.
You wrote for
Who cares
Wofford
the rest
to
of
do
the
well,
season?
but
Yeah.
but isn't that part? Wouldn't that be a good reason to do that, Chris? Is that you can still root for Trendon and play well, but we're gonna get our butts kicked. So
Yeah.
you can feel good rooting for the team to play well and still be fine. But like honestly, even like Nurkic struggles guarding Jokic, so it's not like we have ever really had one.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. We didn't. I don't think we got Drew Eubanks to try and win basketball games. All right, I don't think we really care about winning basketball games. So we did not go out and sign Drew Eubanks to a 10-day so that we could win a basketball game because we can put Drew Eubanks up against Nikola Jokic as if he's not gonna get killed. Like, I don't understand the logic there, my guy. I don't see how he's any more equipped to guard Jokic than Trendon is. He's barely bigger than Trendon. Trendon's a little bit bulkier and a little bit better on the perimeter, and Jokic can play on the perimeter and handle the ball and play everywhere. So I don't see how that helps the Blazers out anymore, and I don't think they're trying to win games anyway. So anyway, let's move on from Eubanks to Benny Bricks McLebrick. 0 for 6 bricks on the night for McLebrick. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. In 17 minutes, he's a -28. McLebrick was a walking brick tonight, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, he really struggled shooting, and unfortunately, that's what he needs to do. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'd rather have him struggling, I guess, than hitting 6 threes and us beating the Warriors, right?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing he does well is shoot threes. Going into this game, he was shooting 37% from 3. After this game, it's probably down to, 36%? He's trending towards not being an NBA roster spot guy, in my opinion. Because if he's only a 36% three-point shooter, he doesn't do anything else well. He doesn't play defense well. He doesn't pass the ball. He's not a good ball handler. All he is a three-point shooter, and he had some really hot stretches earlier this season where it's like, oh, this guy's nice. But this slump that he's been in for about a month or so is just brutal. He's a guy that, when he's not making threes, he truly does not help the team. He truly does not help the team. People would argue that with CJ, but CJ can still get to the rim, get a bucket, draw the best defensive player, create shots for other guys, handle the ball. Like, he could do a bunch of things to still help the team. Macklemore, I don't think that's the case with him.
Yeah, I was starting to think that we were just kind of screwed with center, but now I'm starting to think that maybe we'd be fine just waiving him if we need a center at some point.
Yeah.
For the rest of the season, like we said, if we do that, I want it to be on a guy who has a chance of maybe developing or something. But yeah, not the greatest game from him. But I still think if you get a reputation as a lights out shooter, which he's gotten back this year, I still think you have to account for him at all times, and that is a useful player in the NBA. But
has he gotten that back?
I mean, players are running out on him. He's hardly ever open.
Yeah, players are running out of Justice Winslow too, though. You know what I mean? Yeah.
He does have the reputation as a shooter, so I do think he will make a roster next year. I'm not saying ours, but
yeah. But that can't be the only reason you're on a roster, right? Like, some team might buy that, but it's like, if you're only a league average 3-point shooter, so like that's not even a reason you're on the roster, and you do nothing else well, so that's not a reason why you're on the roster, and the only reason is, oh, well, guys think he's a good 3-point shooter, or guys respect him as a shooter, so they run out at him. That's stretching it for me.
To be fair, you got Ant and then Hart the last, 5 games, 6 games, how many ever games he's played? 5 games, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Hart's been shooting well. But outside of those two starting guards, we literally have no shooters shooting on the roster. So it's a case where teams could be shifting their focus towards him and leaving guys like CJ Ellaby and Justice Winslow open. Now, they're not always doing that for some reason, but he is getting attention on that end, and that could be why he's kind of fallen off shooting-wise. Because there's no other shooting to space the floor.
Yeah, maybe. He's not a good enough shooter. Like, he shot the ball well. It's just this, I don't know. Maybe that's the case because he shooting 25% in February. The 3 months prior to that, he shot at least 40%. So I don't know. Maybe that's the case, man. It's just been a brutal month of February for him. He has not helped the team. And honestly, you know what? If we're trying to tank, might as well keep him on the team and keep giving him 17 minutes a game.
Tank commander, Benny Briggs.
Yep. Let's move on to Keljin Air Blevins. I think we maybe skipped the Keon card, so we'll go back to that after this. I don't know where the Keon card went. Keljin Air Blevins, Eric. Bunch of zeros, but he had a block, and he had a turnover, and he had an air ball. So, productive game. Great game.
Yeah, man. He should have been out there when we got that lead. He should have been our first sub in, so we could have kept it. But
yeah. Instead, we decided to. We're trying to tank Eric, so we didn't want to keep up the momentum. Yeah. So, good contribution from Keljin Air Blevins tonight. And then I don't know. When we have more than 10, it'll skip over certain guys, so I have to plug them in manually. We need to put in. Yes. Ellaby, Hughes, and then we'll get to Keon because we had 12 cards tonight. So, CJ Pocket Picker Elagoat, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. He was only a -2 tonight, Eric. But I have not been impressed with him at all. I don't know. I'll let you speak on him before I start speaking on him, because I might be going back to summer league talk with him.
He's not shooting the 3 well, and if he's not going to stick around in the league if he can't knock down threes as a wing or guard, so that's his problem. I still feel like he overall is an okay player, but yeah, if he can't shoot, it's going to be the death of his career.
Are we sure he's even a solid defender though? Like, I don't know. Like, he plays hard, but I almost feel like because he plays hard, we think he's maybe a better defender than he is.
That may be true because we're used to both bad defenders and lackluster defenders.
Yeah. And his hair's flopping all over the place, so it looks like he's, covering more ground.
But I feel like he gets kind of screwed by the refs sometimes, too. Like, he's not allowed to be physical, and then you see freaking Gary Payton just hugging Ant and not letting him move, and Curry doing the same thing to him. So I feel like he gets no respect out there. But he does foul a lot. But, he does hustle, and he does... since he's been starting, he gets several assists a game. He gets several rebounds a game. He kind of fills the stat sheet. It's just he doesn't shoot the ball well, and that's just, you can't have a player that is that bad at shooting and not good enough at any one other thing to be on your roster, I guess.
Yep. 29% before this game. He started off, like, when he started playing consistently, he had some solid games and knocked down some threes, and he's just regressed. He's just regressed offensively, and it's disappointing. Because I thought, okay, well, this is some progress, and let's, hopefully he'll keep it up for the rest of the season, and he's regressed. So, and that's why my idea of him is regressing back to what I thought of him after Summer League, where he looked terrible. I don't think this guy is really worth a roster spot, because I just don't see the upside. It's like, if you're going to keep a guy who's not really an NBA caliber player, he's like a fringe NBA caliber guy, he better have some upside. LB, I just don't see where the upside is. If he was knocking down threes 35%, then you could justify it going into next year. But if he continues to struggle like this, I'm going to be advocating for him to, I don't know, he's a guaranteed contract next year, right?
No, he's
not guaranteed. Yeah, I might be advocating for him to be cut. Or let him walk, whatever the situation is. I haven't been paying attention to his contract, but
I mean, we could offer him a minimum qualifying offer, but
it's one of those situations. Okay, yeah. So if he doesn't improve, it's going to be me advocating for him to just not even be on the roster next year. So we shall see. He has 22 games to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting starts. He's getting a lot of minutes, but he has to play better than this. Anyway, let's move on to Elijah Hughes, who barely played today, but hit a 3. I don't remember his 2-point shot. Played 11 minutes. They all came in the fourth quarter, I think. Do you have anything to say about Elijah Hughes? I don't know. He just doesn't seem like an NBA caliber guy to me either. I was kind of intrigued to see him play, but from what I've seen, I am not impressed with him either.
I mean, he's, like we talked about with LB, he's okay. If he can shoot, he'd probably be useful, but unfortunately there's hundreds of guys his height that can play a little bit. And so it was interesting that Keon went right into getting the minutes that Hughes was getting the last few games tonight, and then he only came in when it was complete garbage time. But I don't know. I don't think it's a big enough sample size to know about Hughes, but he's also in the same situation as Ellaby, where he is a free agent this summer, and we could offer him a qualifying offer, but I don't think that's going to be the plan for either of them, because we're trying to maximize cap space. So I think they're just looking at that the same way they're looking at Ellaby, as if he shows something in his next 20 games, maybe you'd keep him for cheap. But for the most part, I think most of these guys are looking at either playing in the G League next year or on another team.
Yep. He's one of those guys that doesn't have a skill that differentiates himself enough in the league. So
he's got like it says on his card, he does have a nice step back. He can get a shot up, I feel like. But he's
got to make them.
Yeah, he's not really a point guard, so he's not like running the offense, but he's not really a good enough shooter to be a shooting guard either, so he's kind of stuck in between those.
Yep, agreed. Let's finish off with Keon Johnson, all right? He made his Blazer debut today, Eric. He had 4 points, 4 rebounds. 1 for 4 from the field. The one shot he made was a nice spin move going to his right-handed finish. Had a block as well, 2 turnovers. First takeaway, and I already knew this, but I feel like some Blazer fans didn't. He's small. Like, legitimately small. Like,
okay, point guard size.
Like, point guard size. Like, he's a noticeably undersized shooting guard. More undersized than Simons is as a shooting guard. More undersized than CJ is. He's, 6'3", but he has short arms. What was his wingspan at the Combine?
I don't remember, but it was lower than, I think it was 6'8" or something.
The wingspan does not. I mean, his arms look short. I don't know. The dude just doesn't have a ton of size. Maybe can make up for it in his NBA career with hustle, effort, athleticism. He's going to need to be able to add strength in order to kind of make up for a lack of size and length.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, he's got that huge vertical leap, so if he uses that well, I guess. But
Yeah, I mean, I've watched enough film on him to like kind of know what he is. So nothing today, persuaded me into having a more positive or negative opinion. He only played 17 minutes, and I've watched enough tape on him.
so his wingspan is 6'7.25".
Yeah, he's guys.
8'1"
He's not
standing reach.
guys. He's not 6'5". He's 6'3". He's 6'3". Did he look 6'5" out there to you, hardcore Blazer fan? I mean,
He's 6'3.5" without shoes. So
6'3.5".
Yep.
So yeah, not 6'5", not 6'4", 6'3.5". I think he's listed at. I thought he was listed as 6'3".
No, he's listed at 6'5". Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
What?
Well, people
They don't do shoes anymore.
they scrapped that with COVID, so it's back to like the heights not being real heights anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. So as soon as they go back to that, yeah, he'll be 6'3".
Yeah, he's 6'3". His standing reach is what, 8'1"?
8'1", yep.
Guys,
bad.
Yeah, if you thought Norman Powell was undersized at 6'3" with an 8'6.5" standing reach, Keon Johnson's 6'3.5" with an 8'1" standing reach. Like he's an undersized shooting guard. He's not big enough to play small forward. If you didn't think Norman Powell was big enough to play small forward, there's no way Keon Johnson's big enough to play small forward.
Yep. He's got to kind of take that Dennis Smith Jr., like all the things we said about him, just become a really good defender, which he does have the foot speed, which he showed tonight, to maybe make him an interesting point of attack defender on the perimeter, and kind of just be a specialist in that way, and then just go to work on your shot, man, and if he can start hitting jumpers or 3-pointers consistently along with his defense, then you really could maybe have something, especially maybe trade value wise. But I mean, his only shot of getting any playing time in the future, unless he does improve his shot, in my opinion, would just be situationally as a defensive stopper.
Yep. Hardcore Blazer fan says he's going to grow some inches. So, Eric, we shouldn't be worrying about his size. He's going to grow, right? He's 19. He's still going to grow.
I mean, that measurement was literally from, 8 months ago? So,
yeah, he looks like he's shrunk since then, actually. But, yeah, I mean, he's an athletic guy and plays some defense.
I mean, he's athletic. Like,
I'm going to... It's almost not fair to him because I'm going to grade him like a legitimate first-round pick and grade him on the basis that like he's the main reason why they did that Clippers trade. Mm-hmm. Because the second-round pick they get back in 2025 from the Pistons are probably going to be good by then. That's not going to be worth anything. They could probably buy a second-round pick in 2025 that's worth as much. All right, Justice Winslow, okay, like fringe rotation player, cool. Eric Bledsoe, I don't want him on the team. He's gonna his contract situation next year. He's either gonna be overpaid or he's gonna be dead money. Maybe we can use him to match salaries. Just I don't know. So the only legitimate possible value is Keon Johnson out of that trade. So I'm hoping he shows some things. I don't think he necessarily played bad or good tonight, and I kind of. I'm confident in what he is as a player right now, and obviously he has a lot of room for growth being only 19. When I watched him today, it just goes back to why did we make that trade?
Yeah, so he does not have first round value right now.
Correct.
He could get that back, hopefully. I mean, we need him to recoup that. But I am going to be rooting for him because, he's a Blazer and stuff. I'm not going to hold a bad trade by Cronin to against him personally.
Of course not. Yeah.
So, I am hoping that he does prove us wrong. But even if he does, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It still doesn't, even if he becomes an all-star, he still did not have a first-round grade or value in a trade. So it still was a throw-in a trade to make salaries work, not to make, like because he was like, oh my goodness, we're getting this guy, right? So, um, as
Yeah.
hardcore Blazer fans said, we got finessed in that trade, so it doesn't really matter how he does from now on. It matters what his value was at the time, and we probably could have gotten him for a lot less.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't even know how he proves me wrong, because I haven't even said he won't become an all-star or anything. I haven't put any sort of ceiling on him as in terms of what he could become, really.
I'm saying, if he plays well or becomes a good player, we'll have people retroactively telling us we were idiots about the trade to begin with, is what I would say.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, here's the
Not
thing.
about Keon in particular.
Like, it's a gamble. If you take a bad gamble and win, it doesn't mean that it was a good gamble. It means you got lucky, right? So it's like if you put down $1,000 and you have a 90% chance of losing it, or you have a 10% chance of winning an extra $1,000, that's a bad gamble. 90% chance you lose $1,000, 10% chance you gain $1,000, that's a bad gamble. If you get lucky and win that $1,000, that doesn't mean that you were smart or a genius for taking that gamble. You know what I mean? That applies to this situation. Sure, he could become a great player, but there's no way I see this front office looking at this guy and having the foresight to know that, oh yeah, he's going to be a really good player that's worth trading Norman Powell and Robert Covington for. I don't. He's not good enough right now to justify that trade. And if he develops, down the line, you can look back and say it was a good trade, but that doesn't mean that it was necessarily Cronin being a genius or the people who criticized it were idiots. That's just basically the way I look at it.
And yeah, I mean, I said the same thing with Justice Winslow a couple of games ago. He had no value in a trade. He might have had even negative value. The Clippers would have given him to us for free. So like in that CJ trade or whatever, we could have gone to the Clippers and hey, we have this trade going on. If we throw you some cash, will you throw in Justice Winslow to this trade or whatever? And they might have thrown in Keon Johnson too because they're trying to save money or whatever. But like those are the kind of players you can get without having to give up anything for. So that doesn't justify how they play. Doesn't matter. It's how their value was in the trade that we were upset about. But I mean, if it pans out, it pans out.
Yeah, the last point I want to make on this, Adam Smith is going to get me ranting a little bit. He says, you guys just talked about rather having a center with upside to the known commodity. So Keon has upside. Let's see what happens. He was talked about as a possible top 10 pick. Okay, two things with that. All right, we're talking about signing a center to a minimum or a 10-day contract, right? If they signed Keon Johnson to a 10-day contract or a minimum or whatever, say he was a free agent, okay, cool. They went out and signed a guy with some upside over, the next, a Raul Neto or somebody like that, right? Okay, cool. I prefer that, right? This is completely different than the Drew Eubanks versus signing a big on a minimum with some upside because we traded Robert Covington and Norman Powell, and this was the headliner in that deal. Okay, so it's two completely different situations, number one. Number two, I'm so tired of people like, oh, he was talked about as a top 10 pick, so he has value, or, he's like, he wasn't a top 10 pick. Just because mock drafts or little rumors here and there were like, oh, he might go 9th, he might go 10th. That doesn't mean anything because when it comes to the GMs passed on him. He fell to 21. So that's and that's what matters is the GM's opinion. Because if it's a situation where A, they have the most insight on these players. They do, they have scouting departments, they do workouts, okay? And then B, they make the final decision. C, his trade value is dependent on what other GMs think about him. So if he fell to 21, maybe there's a GM out there that would have taken him at 10. But it's like people try and paint the narrative that, oh, this dude was worth it in the trade because he was talked about as a top 10 pick, and I don't understand that.
Well, and like we talked about ad nauseum, when the trade happens, like Herbert Jones, 2nd round pick, 35th overall, untouchable in a CJ trade, right? Like, can you imagine at the draft saying that Herbert Jones would have more value than Keon Johnson, right? I mean, maybe you and I might have thought that at the time, but like anyone who was like, okay, 21st pick for the 35th pick, would you trade that? Like, every GM would trade the 35th pick for the 21st pick if that option was on the table, right? But like New Orleans would laugh at us and never let us call them back again if we called them after we made that trade and said, "Hey, we'll trade you Keon Johnson for Herbert Jones," right?
Yeah.
So, and that is truly the best defender in that draft, or outside of Mobley, who is really good.
Yeah,
but
Herb Jones is the best like perimeter defender, wing defender, whatever.
So yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you were picked once you start playing. I mean, guys suck that were drafted high, and guys like Mario Hezonja, right? Like half a season into his first year, you knew he was not a top 5 level player, like a top 5 pick level player. Like he didn't have that value, and that's why like the Magic had to let him walk versus getting anything for him because no one cared. And the same Magic team a few years earlier drafted Mo Harkless in the middle of the first round and gave him away to us for a pick that never conveyed because it was protected through pick 55 or whatever. It's like it doesn't mean that if just because a guy is a first round pick, once he gets to the NBA, if he's not showing anything, those guys get spit out all the time and don't really do anything, and it matters nothing what he was picked. Now the team trading him might convince or try to convince. That's kind of smart if that's what the Clippers did. But yeah, Alex Wolf mentions Jerome Robinson. That's a great example. And Dragan Bender. Yeah, like there's a million of these guys, right? So
question: would you guys give up a first round pick for Santi Aldama? Yes, no? He was a first-round pick this past year, 30th. He was a first-round pick, right? So, would you guys give up a first-round pick for Jaden Springer? I wouldn't. They were first-round picks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... You get more information, right? So, at the draft, you trade the 21st pick. I actually think the 21st pick might have been traded, or there was some trades around there where New York had the pick right in that range. I don't know if that was their pick initially.
Yeah, New York, they got it from Dallas, and then they traded it to the Clippers.
Yeah, so like at the time of the draft, and then we saw Houston got the 16th pick or whatever for like a future first and stuff like that. So those players at the draft before they play are worth a first round pick. But once you have more information, you have over half a season of games to see like, oh, wait, the Clippers are not good and they have all these injuries. They have no wing and guard depth, and this guy's barely playing. And I know he got hurt right before we got traded, but same thing with Winslow. It's like you sign him in the offseason and then you barely play him and he's not doing anything for your team. Yet we're supposed to be like, oh wow, this is awesome. He's a first round pick value in a trade. No, That's not how it works.
Yep, because in terms of second round picks in last year's draft, at 51, Brandon Boston Jr., aka BJ Boston, the Clippers were higher on him.
Yeah.
Okay, he was the 51st pick, though, but they valued him more. Delano Banton at 46, I think Toronto would value him more than Keon Johnson right now. He's had some flashes. Keon Johnson hasn't. Kessler Edwards at 44 has actually been a solid role player since entering Brooklyn's rotation. I don't think they would value Keon Johnson over him. You got Ayo Dosunmu at 38. There's no way Chicago would value Keon Johnson over him. Ayo Dosunmu's been really, really good this year. Herb Jones at 35. Pelicans value him higher. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl has been okay this year for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think that they would value... maybe in their position, maybe they would value him over JRE, but, I mean, this is just a few second-round picks that now have higher value, in my opinion, than a Keon Johnson. And yeah, it's just the truth.
Yep,
and we're just arguing narratives. I'm not arguing that he's a bad player, that he can't become anything or whatever. This is just narratives. There's so many narratives that people just toss out to try and fit an agenda that they have that drive me crazy. And that's what we're arguing. We're arguing specific narratives that don't make sense.
And this is what it always comes down to me. Okay, let's say the people who are like, Keon Johnson's going to be good. Watch. Okay, so let's say he becomes at least like a seventh man, right? Like a backup guard at minimum, right? Like he's that good next year or whatever. How are you going to get him minutes? Like, how are you going to show that he's that good? Where does he fit on this team? And that was always my problem too. Is you took that chance on this guy, great, but he's another guard. He's 6'3.5". That's the problem. It's like, yes, okay.
People, Eric, these people always wanted us to get mad about having too many 6'3" guards, right? They're like, oh, you don't care enough about how undersized our roster is, and now it's like we care about 6'3" guard with an 8'1" standing reach compared to Norman Powell's 8'6.5" standing reach, and all of a sudden that's a problem. So
yeah, because I actually fine with Norm playing the three. Like, I don't think that was our problem, other than Norm's, like kind of attitude problem or whatever.
Yeah.
But like him size wise, I don't think was the problem at the three. Same with Hart. I think Hart can play the three if we need him to. Keon Johnson cannot play the three. And that to me makes it hard. When we need wings, we need big guys right now. Like we had to sign Drew Eubanks, right? And so like I would have much rather taken a chance on a young player who, if they develop and are good, like we were saying about Keon, they have a path to maybe starting or being a long-term answer at a position, instead of just, where are we going to play this guy? We have Dame, we have Ant, and we have Josh Hart. Like, I don't know. It's like tough to find a way. And then you see him on the floor tonight, how small he looks, and it's just like, oh man, that's tough, because I don't see him being able to guard anything other than ones and twos. And yeah, so hopefully they can use him as a trade chip, and hopefully there's GMs out there that think like some of you, where his potential could get some value in a trade. But I'm telling you, we got ripped off in that trade, and if we expected to have value that wasn't there at the time of the trade to all of a sudden somehow manifest into having value like this summer or next year or whatever, it's going to be hard to even do that when, if Dame's back and Ant's back and they're playing big minutes and we have Josh Hart as the backup guard, like, how is he going to show that he's that much more valuable than he is right now?
And that should be the plan, to have Josh Hart as a backup guard, because, people complaining about small backcourt lineup. It's like, okay, well, we have the perfect third guard to complement a Dame and Simons backcourt. When Josh Hart has a very good size for the two, can handle the ball, can play off the ball, defends really, really well. He's like the exact type of guy we needed as a third guard behind that. And if it's a situation where it's like, oh, well, we have to play this guy who's not even that good yet, but, we like him long term and we want to get him minutes next year, so we're going to play Josh Hart a little bit more out of position at the three so that we can give Keon Johnson some minutes off the bench, then we're not super serious about actually winning games next year, and that's a major problem. So...
And we also talked about, like, cap flexibility and stuff. So this guy's under contract for, like, $2.7 million next year. So it's not a huge number, but it still eats into a little bit of that flexibility that we're bragging that we allegedly we're going to have,
Yep. Anyway, that's our Keon Johnson talk. Let's move on. Let me think of Dono. Shout out to Pim with another $5 dono. He says, you guys think that Ben Simmons signing will be enough for the Nets to go over the hump and beat the Bucks in the East? Good question. I would lean towards no. I don't know. I don't trust Ben Simmons in the playoffs. I just don't. And I think Milwaukee's still a better team.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Nets are going to get some relief with the mandates changing. So Kyrie in a few weeks might be able to play home games again. And then also, if Durant's healthy, I mean, they still have a shot if they can utilize Ben Simmons. With those guys, I think they're good enough defensively with Ben Simmons to maybe beat the Bucks, but overall, it's hard to trust them in a series.
Yep. Agreed. Do you want to do a Twitter space or no?
It's up to you.
What are your... I don't know, chat. Do you guys want to? Is any of you in chat want to call in? I know our Twitter Spaces people have called in without knowing what they're gonna say or what they're gonna ask because we don't have trade talk anymore. If you guys want a Twitter Space, we can do a quick one. If not, we can always maybe do it every other game or so. We're still going to do them. Just wasn't necessarily planning on doing them every single post-game show because we don't have as much to talk about. We're just kind of writing things out, so I'll leave it up to you. If not, we can just answer some questions in the comment section. So let me know if you want me to make a space. Let me know if you just want us to answer questions in the comment section because we can get to more of them if we just answer them in the comment section.
I have a question for you.
Okay, what's up?
So Joe Ingles, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask this earlier, but we kind of ran out of time. First of all, do you think we should try to bring him back as a bench guy next year, or what are your thoughts on that?
Depends on how they fill out the rest of the roster. If it's a situation where it's like they don't have any means to add a rotation player, but they can re-sign Joe Ingles, then I would do it. I would like to bring... I don't know. I would like to bring him back in general. I don't know if I would want to promise him a rotation spot. He would be out for a portion of next year, most likely. But it also depends on his price point. So I guess I just have to know what the situation is and how much we'd have to pay him.
Let's say, I don't want to go down this hole too much, but let's say we traded for Jeremy Grant, didn't have cap space, but still had the rights to re-sign all our free agents and stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you be comfortable paying him then, or what kind of contract would you be looking at?
I would actually, Eric, I'd be down to maybe even overpay him on a 1-year contract. Well, we'd have his bird rights, so then he'd have a no trade clause if we signed him to a 1-year contract, correct?
Yeah.
Could we do a 2nd year non-guaranteed and take away that no trade clause? That doesn't apply though, does it?
No, I think we ran into that with Hood, and I think that still counts as the 1 year if there's an opt-out.
Well, here's what we do. We say we will overpay you if you agree not to invoke your no trade clause if we decide to trade you. That's what I would do. And then you sign him like 1 year, $10 million contract, and then he's a salary matching piece. Because we need salary matching pieces at the deadline next year.
I have kind of a creative idea.
Okay.
And I don't know if this would be something that a team would be able to pull off or not. But we have only used I think $1.5 million or so of our mid-level exception. And now that we're so far under the tax, right?
Yeah.
We have like our full mid-level exception or biannual exception, right?
Yeah.
All right. I was trying to think of what we could do, right? So
I think I know where you're going with this.
You cut Joe Ingles right now.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. He's gonna clear waivers because he's got a $14 million contract or whatever, right? So no team's gonna claim him off waivers. So he'd be a free agent, right? And then you re-sign him immediately on a 2-year, like $16 million deal. And then you use the $8 million of your TP this year, and then $8 million.
MLE,
yeah, $8 million of the MLE this year, and then $8 million next year. So we have him under contract, guaranteed next year, but it's a 2-year deal, so he'd have no trade. He wouldn't have that no trade clause.
Yeah, so next year it'd be like he's on a 1 year, $8 million deal, wouldn't take anything out of the MLE. It'd be like we re-signed him on an $8 million deal without having the no trade clause because it's a 2-year contract because we just did it early this year.
Exactly, and this year would be prorated.
And he gets more money.
This year would be prorated. So he would actually... No, we're not doing him dirty. This is why. Because he would make his full contract, that $14 million. We'd still have to pay him the rest of that contract by waiving him.
Yeah.
And then when we re-sign him, he makes like double money, right? Because
Yeah. He'd make whatever he makes this year on a new contract prorated.
Right. So, and we could actually give him, I think, an 8% raise on that, whatever that ends up being, like 8.5 million the second year next year, right?
Yeah.
So this is
would he be tradable in the off season? What's the
yeah,
day limit
because
on that?
it would be it's like 90 days or December 15th if you're signed in the off season. But yeah, during the season it would just be the 90 days. So yeah, but like maybe not at the beginning of the off season, but like definitely once like free agency and stuff goes around.
Yeah. I mean, right now it would be like late May, and no teams make deals until late June. Around the draft, and then free agency starts July. So he would be like dude. If there's nothing against that, we should absolutely try and do that. I don't know if Cronin is creative enough to do that. But Joe Ingles wins, okay, and then he's a trade piece in the offseason. Because that's the thing is, like, if we go into the offseason right now and we want to trade for, a Pascal Siakam or whatever, how are we going to match his salary? He's going to make 30... If we trade for him before free agency starts, he's $33 million. If we trade for him after free agency starts, he's like $35 million. So we have to trade out approximately 26 to 28 million to make that deal work. Where are we going to get that salary? Nurkic is a free agent. We got Dame. We're not trading him. Simons is a free agent. The other salaries we have are like Justice Winslow at $4 million. Nas at $4 million, right? Ellaby, Greg Brown at like $1.5 million minimum contracts. Watford.
Ellaby's not on that. Yeah.
Or Ellaby's a free agent. Yeah. So it's like, where are we going to get the 26 to 28 million to match a Pascal Siakam trade? Or maybe it's somebody else making salary in that range. I don't know who. Where are we going to get that salary? Mm-hmm. If we had, Bledsoe's 19 million or 18 to 19 million, and then you had Ingles at like 8 million, you're getting $27 million of salary. And you're able to match salary, and it's 2 expiring contracts. Maybe players that team doesn't want, but maybe, you're giving up a lottery pick, and they're willing to, take on the expiring salary just so they could get a lottery pick for whoever they're trading out. Mm-hmm. Right? That's not enough for Pascal Siakam, that's just a hypothetical example. It gives you actually a little bit more flexibility in the offseason because you have an extra trade chip to match salary with. And then if we don't trade him at the deadline next year, he's a trade chip to match salary with. And maybe he can come back and be a contributing member, but if not, he'll have, his contract will be able to match things on the trade market.
Yeah, so Adam asks why would Cronin keep saying we value his bird rights. That means we can go over the cap to re-sign him. So it's not because of trade value. And Dame made comments about having Ingles on the team next year as well. So I think they actually see him as maybe part of the team once he recovers. Yeah. But I don't think that's for trade value. But what Tori's talking about is if a player making $30 million or more becomes available this summer, that would be perfect for us. It's pretty much Josh Hart and Bledsoe would have to be as part of the deal. It'd be very hard to add up enough salary to make it work otherwise. And if you want to keep Hart, this would be a way of getting another contract at a mid-level or mid-range that you could include instead of Hart, and then you include draft capital or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, it would guarantee you having him on the team next year. It'd use the rest of our MLE this year, which we're not going to use otherwise, right?
We'd still be under the tax.
Yeah, once the offseason starts, we have a new MLE, so it's not like it would affect next year MLE at all.
Well, so what it does affect is if you wanted to get, $40 million in cap space or whatever by letting Nurk Hart.
Yeah, but that's not not a good path. So
that's the only. That's the only thing it does is it does tie up $8 million in potential cap space. But
like, here's the thing: if we're gonna go after a free agent, right, like for $27 million a year, it might be better to just try and go after a sign and trade route. Mm-hmm. And Ingles' salary could be useful for that. It would have to be like Ingles plus Bledsoe. You'd have to give up some value for a team to take on those expirings. But since they're expiring, if a team's not going to use up all their cap space or whatnot, or over the cap, maybe they don't mind taking them on, or maybe you ship Ingles to a third team that maybe would be okay with having him for $8 million next year, right? So that's the thing, is like the only way it would hurt is if you're chasing cap space. But in order to get the cap space necessarily, we'd have to cut. We'd have to let Nurkic or Hart walk, most likely, at least, in order to clear up $27 million of cap space. If not, trade one of our first-round picks as well. Instead, if you have Ingles' contract, for those $27 million a year guys in free agency, you can go after the sign-and-trade route because you have another salary trade chip to match salary with, bringing somebody in via sign-and-trade.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you could also sign him to up to 4 years because he's so old. I wouldn't do that.
Because then, he's old, and then he doesn't have I like him being expiring next year. Yeah, because it's not money that a team has to commit to him going into following seasons.
Yeah, this is just the stuff I kind of think about when I'm. I just been staring at my. Because I added all the trade exceptions to my cap sheet today, and I was just going through some stuff, and I was like, "Wait, we still have almost $8 million left of our our MLE. How could we use?"
I knew exactly where you were going with that when you started talking about it. But
it's good you know me so well. But just interesting.
There's nothing in the CBA against cutting a guy and then immediately re-signing him, right?
As long as he claims his waivers, if we're doing that with Macklemore or whatever, he probably gets claimed off of waivers by a playoff team because he's on a minimum contract and any team could claim him. But with a $14 million contract, I guess, OKC could technically, but I don't know why they would, because he's a free agent this year. He's hurt. So, even if a team, I don't know if Boston still has their big trade exception, but they're not going to go under the tax. But if he wasn't hurt, I could maybe see a team like that being oh, we could get Joe Ingles for free, for the rest of the season. But he's not helping anyone this season. So, why would they do that? I just think it's a rare situation where if we are planning on re-signing him, why not do it now? And then it frees up, a lot of stuff, like you said, a lot of trade scenarios that we hadn't really thought of. And then it also doesn't affect any of our mid-level exception or trade exceptions this summer because we use this year's, not next year's.
Yeah, agreed. Good conversation. Good topic of conversation. Bonnie likes that I said, welcome into the Blazers Tank Rise post-game show. I forgot to switch it over to the bottom stats that Krish made. So thank you for reminding me, even though we're near done with the stream. But yeah, I mean, creative stuff like that is how you can try and set yourself up in a better position this offseason. Because, I mean, I've said it numerous times, we don't have $60 million of cap space. The cap space route is a bit of a myth. I think we're going to have to come out with a video on why it's a myth and the actual numbers behind it.
Well, that's part of the reason why I was doing stuff today is every year I have a off-season primer with, cap space and stuff. But this year, we can utilize the website, too, to make it a little more, graphic-wise and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to go into it, fully as you did, what our moves could be. I was just going to show, okay, well, if you want this amount of cap space, you have to cut these guys or this guy or whoever. Mm-hmm. And just focus on it from that aspect, not with, how we'd use it or anything. But the reason, I just don't even want to wait till the offseason because a lot of people are buying this narrative that we're going to have $60 million of cap space and then we're going to be able to go over the cap to re-sign Nurkic and Simons.
That's what I was saying. I'm planning on doing it relatively soon because now we know what our salary is for this year. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to drop it soon, I'm absolutely down. But you see, that's the thing is you always, I wanted to label it something a little bit catchy that'll get the people that actually believe it to click it. So if you're okay with me titling it, I was thinking. Oh yeah, I was thinking why the Blazers having $60 million of cap space is a myth. Myth in all caps, like the YouTubers do, and then Yeah, like, and then having a couple different texts in the thumbnail. Just for the people that are like, yeah, we have $6 million of cap space. They see that video and, oh, I'm believing a myth. I'm going to click on it. I don't know. If you're cool with your video being titled that.
Well, I mean, I can do a quick video just explaining why that's a myth. And for our loyal listeners right now, I'll just break it down real quick. So we have almost 70 million in cap space now accounted for next year. So even if we cut Ant, Nurk, Hart, Ingles, Elijah Hughes, CJ Ben McLemore, and Bledsoe, and did not have a first round pick, so we made the playoffs or traded our pick for a future pick or whatever, so we had no cap hold from a first round pick. We were at 70 million, and that means 51 million in cap space is the absolute max we can generate in free agency with letting Ant walk. And no one wants to let Ant walk. So his cap hold is a little over 11 million. And so now we're down to 40 million in cap space with Ant, but letting all those other people go. And if you want Hart, now we're down to 28 million, right? And then if you want Nurk, now we're down to 10 million. And it makes no sense to do any of that. And even if you didn't want Nurk, and let's say we went after a center in free agency or whatever, let's say we're going to go after Ayton and get him, right? You're still losing a bunch of players to make that happen. And I don't know if even if we've got a good free agent like a DeAndre Ayton, if it would be worth losing 4 or 5 players that are decent people. And it's, I just don't think people are taking that into account.
Yep, and here's the thing. If you use cap space, you have to renounce all your traded player exceptions and the MLE. You don't get cap space and your TPEs and the MLE because the $21 million traded player exception counts $21 million against cap space. So it's like, even if you did all that and got $28 million of cap space, if you kept that TPE on the books, you'd only have $7 million of cap space. And all a TPE does is allow you to absorb salary and cancel it out, right? So if you're over the cap, you could use a $20.8 million traded player exception to absorb a guy making $20 million a year, and you cancel out his salary. His salary counts as zero incoming salary, so you don't even have to match it. That's why we could trade for Jeremy Grant straight up this offseason without having to trade anything out, because his salary fits in that TPE. The thing is, if you have $21 million of cap space, you can absorb a player's salary via trade into cap space. You don't have to match it. So if you still have cap space after the trade, you don't have to worry about matching anything. So it's like, if you have, $21 million of cap space, it doesn't matter. Like, the $21 million TP doesn't matter because you can absorb that player anyway. And you can either use the traded player exception and absorb him with that, and then you lose it, or you can renounce that traded player exception so you get the $21 million of cap space and absorb him that way. So TPEs don't matter at all when you have cap space. They basically pretty much go out the window, and then you cannot use an MLE at all when you use cap space. It's only for teams that don't use cap space. It's an exception. So that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people don't seem to understand.
Yeah, and then you see Dame and Draymond talking about they have 60 million in cap space. That was one of the things that kind of was cringe about that. But overall, great interview. If you
maybe they fooled Dame, man.
Yeah.
Maybe Dame needs to learn the CBA. I don't know.
Unfortunately, it kind of sounded like that.
I mean, but like, that's the thing. There's nobody even that good. So it's like, if they're like, yeah, we're not going the cap space route. I mean, it's not like there's anybody out there that I can see Dame like, oh yeah, we gotta get that guy. That's like easily gettable.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can sign and trade for guys. That's the route that makes the most sense for Portland pretty much every year, because they should never bank on getting somebody with their cap space anyway. So they should always just be prepared to not even have cap space so that they keep all their TPEs, they have their MLE, right? And they don't have to get rid of a Josh Hart or whoever. And then if the opportunity comes along where you can sign a free agent for $20 million a year, try and go about it in the sign and trade route, right? So there's no downside.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still get a deal done with a free agent. And if you don't, you're not screwed.
Yep.
Hey says you guys should legit do a CVA series, like make a playlist about the CVA and start from noob. I would watch it all. We might have to do.
I've actually thought about doing that before.
Yeah, we might have to do something. We just want to make it like, yeah, we need to structure out every video. Like, we're gonna start here and address this and this and this and this. I just don't know how. Like, I'd want to do illustrations with it too, and like it would be a lot to plan out. But I'd definitely be down to do it in like May, especially if we miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, would that make sense on the main channel though?
Maybe so. We could utilize the website as well.
Yeah, we could do a video series on the website. I'd be down for that, because I feel like if we did it on the channel, it would not get that many views, to be honest. Because there's some people. There's a lot
of people that would love to learn about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's dedication to learn. You know, if we have a 10-part series or whatever, it's a lot of dedication. You know, we try and teach it on stream, but it's a lot. It's a complicated CBA. So, I mean, I filled out my bracket last year on the channel. I'm gonna do it again this year. We only got like 200, 300 views. I feel like anything that's not inherently Blazer related, that's just kind of generic, doesn't really get a ton of attention. So,
if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. Because see, like, and I don't mind that. It's just like then when we publish stuff that people want to watch, it might not get boosted on YouTube as much. The algorithm on YouTube might not favor it as much because it's like, oh, well, you just posted something that only got, 300 views or whatever. So we're not going to push this to other people's recommendations feed. And then it like slows the growth of the channel. It's all this YouTube stuff. So I would absolutely love to do it. I would do it regardless if, 50 people watched it or 100 people watched it or 1,000 people watched it, right? The fact that people want to learn that type of stuff, like we sit here and have tried to teach people this stuff, it's very complicated and we're kind of disorganized when we stream because we're just speaking off the head, but we've done it in the past since we started the channel. We used to do it for 20 people. We used to do it for 10 people. So I'd definitely be down to make a series like that. It's not about the views or anything. It's just, that's the thing is we'd have to figure out if we want to publish it on the main channel because it could affect other things.
Yeah. But it would be good to have because that's like a whole NBA thing. That's not necessarily just Blazers. So anyone who wanted to learn about the salary could learn from us.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This is the type of stuff I never really talk about on stream either. It's just the YouTube side of things. I just sit here and talk basketball, but there's a lot of, YouTube think that goes into doing certain things with the channel. So how many we're like 40 subs away from 6K too. So if you have a friend that's a Blazer fan, recommend the channel. Let's see if we can hit 6K soon. That would be phenomenal. But yeah, I'm definitely down to put together a series. And
well, I mean, you basically do that with the mock-off season, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if we'd have to start playing it now if we wanted to get it out for the mock-off season, because we could technically start the mock-off season early this year if we miss the playoffs. We could even do 2 mock-off seasons. I don't know. That might be too much.
Yeah.
But if we have like April, we're gonna have to fill some like April 10th. If the season ends April 10th, if we don't make the play-in, we have April 10th to like June. When's the draft? June 27th. April 10th to June 27th that we just have to fill with content.
We have the lottery. That's fine.
Yeah, so like we'll do draft content for sure. But outside of that, and free agency preview content. But there's going to be a span from, like, if we miss the playoffs, April 10th to maybe mid-May where we have nothing to do. Where otherwise we would have had, like, at least a playoff series to talk about and wrap up. Which would have lasted a couple weeks. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what we do. I don't know. Is there any other types of content that would fit in there? Because we'll do our mock-off season stuff. I just don't know when to start it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to start it pretty much right away.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, mock off season, for anybody who doesn't know, we get 30 people together. Everybody runs a team. We follow all CBA rules, and everybody's the GM for their team, and they go through the upcoming offseason. They make trades, they make draft picks, and then they do free agent signings. We have a system for it all, and basically they run a team. We've done it the past 2 years, and we do content centered around that on Blazers Uprise Live. And it's a lot of fun to participate in personally. But I also think it's a lot of fun to follow along and see what moves people do and kind of talk about, random trades that happen in our mock off season. So it kind of plugs the void and prepares people for the upcoming off season. So that's what we've done to kind of fill a gap in time where we don't have much to talk about. So.
Yep. It's always good that's a good way to learn the CBA as well if you follow along with that.
Yep. I wonder if we could do like a chat team. I wonder if there'd be a way to do that, Eric.
What does that mean? Oh,
do the chat
thing?
Involved. Yeah, have like everybody else outside. Maybe we'd have to everybody. We'll have 29 dedicated people, and then the 30th team could be chat basically in Discord, and we can put them all into a thread. And then they can vote on things. I don't know.
Too hard to how do you have trade discussions with that team?
Yeah, that's
or who gets to decide who they draft or whatever.
It'd almost be like if you had a trade offer, you'd have to vote on it. Yeah, but that's the thing is you gotta negotiate and stuff. So
yeah,
if there's a way to do it, I'd be down. I just don't know how that would be feasible.
Mm-hmm.
So. Always down to try to get you guys involved though. So I mean, if you guys have an idea as to how we could do that, let us know for sure. Also join our Discord if you're not a part of it yet, because everything goes down in the Discord. And we have previous mock off season moves in the Discord. You can actually see them. Just go down and look for mock off season 2020 mock off season, and then I need to rename this one to 2021 mock off season. But you can go and look at previous trades, draft picks, all sorts of stuff. So, anyway, you ready to go around the NBA? Wrap things up? Cool.
Yep.
Let's go around the NBA. You had 7 games today. It was a terrible picks against the spread day for me. Eric, the Pistons surprised the Cavaliers, who were my double down. The Cavs, disappointing loss. They were missing Darius Garland in this one. Why were they missing Darius Garland? Because he played in the All-Star game. What happened? Did he get hurt in the All-Star game?
No, I don't think it happened in practice.
Oh. Okay. Because I was surprised after playing the All-Star game he missed this game. But,
nagging back injury.
He hurt it in the All-Star game or something.
Will need to be managed for the remainder of the season.
Those half-court shots got to him, man. I don't know. That's surprising. For the Pistons, 21 off the bench from Hamidou Diallo in 21 minutes. Great game for him. Cade Cunningham had 17 points, but on 4 for 16 shooting. Jeremy Grant was 4 for 15 from the field for 16 points. So surprising that they're able to win with their 2 stars, or their 2 best players, going 4 for 15 and 4 for 16 respectively. 22 for Markkanen, 15 off the bench from Brandon Goodwin. For the Cavs, the Celtics blow out the Nets 129-106. The Nets were without all 3 members of their big 3, including newly acquired Ben Simmons. He's still out. The Celtics get 30 from Jason Tatum. The Suns were in a battle for a while with the Oklahoma City Thunder and then ran away with this game in the second half. Devin Booker, 25 points. This was Phoenix's first game out of the All-Star. Was it their first game without Chris Paul? I don't know if this is their first game without Chris Paul, but it has.
Xavier got hurt right before.
Yeah, it has been confirmed he'll miss 6 to 8 weeks, so he should be back around the time the playoffs start. In their first game without Chris Paul, 25 from Booker, 21 from Mikal Bridges, and 21 from Cam Johnson, so stepping up in his absence. The Timberwolves beat the Grizzlies 119-114. They were led by 37 points from D'Angelo Russell. The Bulls beat the Hawks 112-108, led by DeRozan, who continues his hot streak. The All-Star break didn't slow him down at all. He came out of the break with a 37-point game, shooting 15 for 21 from the field. Eric, insanely efficient. He's been phenomenal. At this point, he has to be in the top 5 of the MVP discussion.
Mm-hmm.
The Blazers lose to the Warriors. We've already talked about that. And then the Nuggets ran away with this game in the second half against the Kings, 128 to 110. Nikola Jokic, 25 points, 12 rebounds for the Denver Nuggets. Will Barton is approaching the franchise record for 3-point makes. Did you know that?
No.
Good for him. He's been there for a while, man. It's crazy to think about how long he's been there in Denver. Considering we're the team that traded him there. It sounds like he's going to hit the 3-point record for the franchise. So congrats to him. Western Conference standings, Eric. What jumps out at you? I'll let you kind of summarize things here.
We still need those teams below us to win. Yeah. Nothing really jumps out at me. It's pretty straightforward. We'll see how much Phoenix can hold on. I mean, they're up 6.5 games, so I expect them to cruise to that number 1 seed. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Memphis sticks around or falls back a little bit. It'll also be interesting to see where teams like Dallas and Denver end up. And then, Minnesota's firmly in the playoff game, so in the play-in game, I mean. So they're pretty much the only one I trust out of the play-in teams right now. So yeah, which is weird to say, but Lakers. I mean, they could make some noise in the end of the season, but man, they're still 6.5 games behind 6, so they're almost for sure going to be in a play-in game as well. So
I think it comes down to, are they the 8th or the 9th? Because if you're 8th, you got to win 1 out of 2 games. If you're 9th, you got to win 2 out of 2 games.
Yeah.
So
I just don't want to be in that 10th spot.
Yep. Get us out of that 10th spot. Let San Antonio have it. I'm down for that. But it's time to look at the tank race. All right, time for good old Tankathon. I need to make this a bigger screen, I think. Wait, let me try.
We move back ahead of, or we're not tied with New York anymore.
Yeah, let me try and make this bigger. And then I need to do it to where? There, I think. Yeah, I think that works. Cool. All right, and then center it. I thought I had this. Okay, cool. I thought I had that bigger, but all right. So Portland's in 9th. They're now alone because New York didn't play today. They were tied going into tonight with New York. San Antonio and New Orleans didn't play, so no change there. Sacramento loses. If Sacramento won, we would have only been They would have been 23 and 38. We only been 2.5 games out of 6th, so it sucks that they couldn't take care of business. Portland would have a 20% chance at the top 4. New Orleans would have a 29% chance at the top 4. They are even with San Antonio, so those odds are evened out between 7th and 8th. We need to be worse than New Orleans, Eric.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it'd be more likely that we would have a bad case scenario than a good case scenario.
New Orleans plays the Suns tomorrow. Suns will be on a second night of a back-to-back, so you hope they can maybe pull out a win.
Yeah, it's weird to want New Orleans, because I was wanting New Orleans to lose, but now I kind of want them to win, so I don't know. We'll see how that game goes. Portland just needs to lose games. I think that's what it comes down to. San Antonio needs to win games. These are the two most important teams, and then New York matters as well. We're rooting for them also.
Well, the Knicks play the Heat. That sucks. But Spurs play the Wizards.
Okay, winnable game for them.
And the Thunder and Pacers play each other tomorrow, along with the Rockets and Magic. So 2 of those 4 teams are going to win. Not that the Rockets and Magic really matter that much, but I guess we're rooting for the Pacers. They got Brogdon back, so maybe they're going to try to win games here.
Yeah, go make a play-in run. We'll look at these standings in a second. They still are a ways out, but we are only 5 games worse than Indiana, and we do play them once more. If we could lose against them, that'd make it 4. If they can win tomorrow against OKC, then maybe we could get up to 5th in the best case scenario.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be hard. I mean, look at their last 10, 2-8. It's hard. It's hard to compete with these teams, man. But yeah, I think it just comes These are the three teams I'm focused on most: New Orleans, San Antonio, Portland.
James asked me if we automatically have a top four pick. No team has an automatic pick. There is a lottery system, and you can see the percentages for getting a top four pick on the second column from the right.
Yep, right here, this column. The worst team in the league has a 52% chance of the top four, so it's hard to get a top four pick. Anyway, we're going to simulate the lottery. And we're going to scroll up. Portland at 9th. New Orleans' pick to Portland would be at 7th right now. So fingers crossed for some lottery luck as we scroll things up from the bottom. 14th, Charlotte. 13th, Atlanta. 12th, Washington. 11th, Lakers pick to Memphis. 10th, Portland gets screwed. Eric, we moved down a spot. Yep. No lottery luck.
The Knicks moved up.
Good for the Knicks, I guess. San Antonio at 9th, and then you're praying this is New Orleans pick to Portland, and it is, so at least we get the 8th and 10th picks. OKC 7th. They move down 3. Houston, Orlando. Top 4, you got Detroit. You got... Oh, I accidentally revealed them all. Sacramento, New York, and Indiana. So New York jumps up 8 spots to the top 4. That is our official tank sim. Let's just get a sim with some good luck, all right?
10. I mean, 8 and 10, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the middle scenario. This would be cool though. 3 and 9. You take whichever one of. That's probably Banchero though, and at this point, I want Chet or Jabari over Banchero. I would want to get the second pick, but like 3 and 9 would be intriguing. At least you get one of the top 3 with Banchero, Jabari, and Chet. But prefer to get a top 2 pick. There we go. See, 2 and 8. Look, this is better. 2 and 8, you take Jabari or Chet, whichever one is left. I don't know who OKC would prefer. And then at 8, that's an interesting draft position as well. Maybe you can combine that with a second-round pick to move up to 6 or something. A couple second-round picks. I don't think that's enough, but maybe you could move up a couple spots. I don't know. I don't know why they would necessarily want to do that, but 8 would be an interesting pick to have nonetheless. So that's Tankathon. What would you try and do with 8, Eric?
Well, so who has... It's kind of risky, but I would maybe... I'm trying to think of a good team here. Maybe you can get another pick or something of value from. Maybe you can get like a Kenrick Williams and 15 for 8, and then you maybe still get Tari Eason at 15. It's kind of risky, but.
What about Memphis? 11 and 25 for 8.
Yeah. Maybe you have to put in 33 there too, but...
Do they have 33?
I mean, or not 33, R38 or 39, 40, whatever.
Yeah, maybe, but like if they really want a guy at 8, yeah. I could see 11 and 25 making a lot of sense.
They did that last year with Zaire Williams.
Mm-hmm. And we could take Eason at 11, and then I don't know who's 25. Nope, that wasn't what I was going for. I was going for mock draft. 25, like maybe an Agbaji there. He's tight with Dame. Maybe he's there. That would be cool. Koloko, Harrison Ingram. Some interesting players.
I've seen Agbaji I've seen him like in that 8 range on some drafts now.
Yeah.
Like moving into that late lottery. Cool story. I don't know if you heard this. Apparently he spent some time with Lillard.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, like he's tight with Dame. Yeah, go ahead.
And yeah, it's I guess he like went over to his house or something. I don't know if he stayed there, but like Dame kind of mentored him or something. Yeah, it's really cool.
I mean, if he's 6'5.5" with a 6'10" wingspan, and he's 215 pounds, that's probably big enough to be a 3 and shooting 44.5% from 3. Mm-hmm. Smart player. Looked at as an okay defender, but could be a good defensive player.
Yeah.
That could be a guy contributing day one.
Man, yeah, if we end up with the 8th pick and a top 3 pick, got one of the big 3, and then ended up with like Tari Eason and Agbaji, man. And then we could take a flyer on a developmental guy.
Yeah, you would maybe want a draft and stash guy at 39, considering that'd be 4 draft picks. We've never really had to have that discussion before, Eric, because we've never had 4 draft picks. But at that point, like Kamagate, I would hope would fall.
Theoretically, we do have our.
We also have 58. We'd have 5 picks.
We have our theoretically our second 2-way as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Baji, man. You could draft and stash him, maybe.
Yeah, Kamagate seems intriguing, but he's been rising up draft boards.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be there at 40.
Champagne would be interesting. Would preferably want a big though, I think. I don't know. I don't know enough about some of these guys, to be honest. I wouldn't want like an Iverson Molinar just because we don't really need a 6'3" scoring guard who's a questionable passer and non-defender. Yeah, I don't know. That would be fun though. Like going into draft night or like a couple, maybe we make that trade 3-4 days before draft day and we have like 3, 11, 25, and 39. We're literally talking about prospects on every single range of the draft.
Yeah. AJ's asking how many seconds we have. We have our own second, which is right now at 40. And then we have the Memphis second, which is
58 right now.
I think it's 58.
Technically 56, yeah.
There's 2 teams forfeited, so it will move up to 56 or move up 2 spots or whatever. So
yeah. I wish they'd just take these out. They should have, honestly, what I think they should have done is just randomly given these picks away to one of the 28 other teams and just had a drawing, right? Or like just to fill out, a 60 team draft. Or 60 pick draft, because I don't think it's fair to like somebody who might get drafted 59th or 60th, even though some guys would rather go undrafted than get drafted to a specific team. I feel like they could have just done a drawing. One of 28 teams for this pick. All right. Oh, the Timberwolves won it. All right. So this will do one of 27 teams where the Timberwolves, Bucks, and Heat can't win it. And do it that way. Those picks were forfeited from the tampering things with Kyle Lowry and then Bogdanovich. So. Anyway, that's Tankathon. A little bit more in-depth look at Tankathon. Let's look at the Eastern Conference standings. Brooklyn is still in 8th, and they actually are 3.5 games back out of not having to deal with a playing game.
That's so awesome.
Toronto's only 5.5 back of first. They're 32-25. They've been winning games lately. So has Boston as they beat Brooklyn today. They're 35-26. So Boston and Toronto, Eric, have joined the fray. And right now, you kind of got one tier 1 through 7, but like Chicago and Miami are battling up top, and then Philadelphia at 3rd is 3 games back. Only 2.5 games separate 3rd and 7th, with Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Boston, and Toronto, all teams that have had some playoff success in the past 5 years. All teams that have kind of been there. Miami's been there as well. So, you don't really have... I mean, Cleveland's the sleeper, obviously, because they haven't been there in a while, but this is their first run without LeBron, of course, but they have won a championship in the past 6 years, so they're the Cinderella story, though. And then Charlotte, 9th, they're 10 games back 2 of 8th place Brooklyn. The 8th, 9th cutoff spot is important because if you're 7th or 8th, you only got to win 1 or 2 playing games. If you're 9th or 10th, you got to win both. And then Atlanta's a roller coaster, man. They've started to make some headway, starting to make some progress, and then they'll lose a couple games, and they can't really get over the hump. They've been hovering right around 10th, 11th, 12th all season long. They're only a half game ahead of Washington for 11th, so that 10th playing spot is still in play for Washington and New York. New York is just an absolute mess, and then, of course, you got the bottom 3.
Yep, super exciting. I don't really have a good feel for how this is going to go. You would assume teams like Philadelphia and Milwaukee will rise up. Miami, if they stay relatively healthy, should stay up there as well. Chicago, once they start getting Ball, Caruso back, and it sounds like Patrick Williams might actually play again this year. So they could very likely stay in first. That's going to be crazy. And then the hottest team is Boston, and uh, they've actually put themselves in a really good spot now to not have to be in the playing game if they continue to play well. But
Yep.
yeah, I really want Brooklyn to not make the playoffs. That would be so hilarious.
That would be
Screw
funny.
that team.
That would be so funny. Let's look at the next 5 games. You got Denver, Phoenix. All right, so 2 tough games. That Phoenix game is on ESPN. And then you got Minnesota on the 5th and the 7th. And then you got Utah on the 9th. So a tough 5-game stretch ahead, and then it gets easy after that Utah game. For Phoenix, I'll probably hop on Valley Pod. It will be easier to sync up our game streams since it will be on ESPN. So my YouTube TV will get it. Yeah, I mean, Phoenix will be without Chris Paul, but these are going to be tough to win games. At this point, I'm rooting against the Blazers, man. It's tank season full ahead. I've said it for a while, but I mean, Nurkic is out now, so looking for that top 3 pick. Are you even more on the tank train now after Nurkic is out in today's game, Eric? Or
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on the tank train.
are you like hanging out the window? Are you
I,
like in the
no,
cabin?
I mean, I haven't been outright rooting for them to win. I find myself still wanting Ant to like just go crazy and win games, but I'm that's not going to happen very much the rest of the season. So I'm cool with them losing as much as possible.
Yep. So
Just need some. We put ourselves in a position where we need some help though too.
Yeah. So we gotta lose games. We gotta have teams below us win some games. It's gonna be tough, but we'll see how this plays out. We could be talking about us being 7th or 6th, maybe. Probably not 6th, but 7th in lottery odds sounds pretty nice after these 5 games. So let's see if we can get it done. Anyway, that's around the NBA. Anything else for the stream, Eric?
No, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. I appreciate all of you. And hope to see you guys after Sunday's game against the Nuggets.
Yep, 2 days off before the next game, and then 2 days off after that game. So we're a little bit spread out coming out of the All-Star break. So Sunday is when we will catch you next. What are you deep sighing for?
I just looked it up. The Nuggets will be on a back-to-back, so hopefully that doesn't mean they're
going to rest Jokic. And then our Drew Eubanks signing will be useless.
I don't think they'll rest him, but yeah, hopefully they show up to that game.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see. But yeah, we'll have you covered on Sunday with that post-game show. Was that an early game by chance? Because it's a Sunday game? 6 p.m. Okay, so not really an early game, considering
that's
how
the normal Sunday.
Yeah. So we'll have you covered after that one. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch you then. 2 days off. We'll drop another college basketball article sometime in the next couple of days. So check out the Blazers Twitter for that, at Blazers Uprise YT, link in description. Or join our Discord, because we will tag everyone in the Discord when we drop that newest college basketball article. We include bracketology, we include games to watch, and Eric puts in some of his prospect notes. So it's a really good read, in my opinion. And we'll drop one maybe after Saturday. Just depends on when I can get around to doing the bracketology and when things update with some of the rankings that I use for my rating system. Yeah. Anyway, CBA equals collective bargaining agreement. Arrowmancer, not college basketball article, but good joke. Yeah, that's funny. Anything else, Eric? I know I just asked you that, but all right.
Thanks, everyone.
We're gonna sign off. Have a good rest of your. What now, if you're on the West Coast, is your Friday morning. Have a good rest of your weekend. Hopefully we can finish off your weekend on Sunday. If not, hope everything's well. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.